Asyrafchazz here, and I was supposed to get all 6 of the new starter decks this weekend, but unfortunately some stock issues happened. Some shops didn't get it in Singapore, so we'll probably get it about next week. But since we're on the topic of talking about the new starter decks, I was going to talk about the effects during the opening itself, but you know what, let's talk about the effects of the new cards now. Now I want to approach this video in 2 ways. What starter deck should you get if you are a brand new player at the game? That means if you're a Japanese player, so in this case someone who's playing in the Japanese version starting for the first time, or down the line someone who's going to start playing in English and will have access to these products in the future. And versus which deck should you pick up or should really spend money on if you are already an existing player, because some of these archetypes and some of these super rares are actually really powerful and can change the metagame in the future. So let's talk about all the starter decks first, and then we'll break them down on whether as a new player or returning player which one should you get. Let's go. Alright, let's go through all of the starter decks, starting with the ST15, which is the Whitebeard starter deck. So if you don't know how that starter decks works, all of these leaders are already in the game, they already exist. All of the starter decks, all the cards in the decks are mostly reprints, except for I think 5 new cards per starter deck. So we can go through them. I'm only going to go through the new cards. You can look through all the other starter decks, but I'm going to give a kind of recommendation on whether you should or should not get the starter deck depending on your needs and wants. Alright, Edwin Newgate, he was a big powerhouse back in the OPO2, OPO3 days. Still, I think there are some people who still play Edward Newgate to this day. It's a very fun leader. At the end of your turn, add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. You have 6,000 power at the start. Start with 6 life. It's good. Oh yeah, G. Okay, so aside from Whitebeard, Ace, and Thatch, every other card in this deck has a full playset. So out of the gate, you can just play this deck if you want to. But if you want to get 2 copies, full playset of like Whitebeard or Ace or Thatch, then you need to get 2 copies of the starter deck. Which, you know, by this point we are kind of familiar with the business prospect. So let's just move on from that. Okay, let's go through all of the new cards, and then we'll talk a little bit more about whether or not you should get this particular starter deck. So Atmos is one of the new cards, 4 cost, 5,000 power, counter 1,000. When attacking, if your leader is Edward Newgate, you cannot add life cards to your hand using your own effects during this turn, which is, you know, it's really great in Whitebeard because you can specifically kind of slow down the rate at which you go down to 0 life. Saves you like a turn of having to kind of factor in that life loss in when you're playing Whitebeard. I would say it's like kind of okay. I mean, like it's like a win more card because Whitebeard doesn't mind if you get to like 1 or 0 life. Maybe nowadays in this current meta game when there's like a prevalence of RP law that can, you know, get rid of blockers and also have kid and killers on the field, then you may want to slow down the loss of life. Atmos would be a good addition to like future Whitebeard decks. But other than that, I think this is just a decent card. It will come in handy, I think, especially when you have a good 4 cost 5,000 body on a turn 2. If you're going second, this would be a great card to just drop down, and then you can start preventing like life loss really early. But then now let's go to the super rare that what you get, and this is, you know, going to the players that are, you know, the players that are already playing the game and whether you should pick this up. I mean, it's a huge investment to pay like for each starter deck twice if you want to like complete decks. Just because of that, I know some people will do that, so this isn't a video for those people. I'm just talking to those people who are a little bit more budget conscious. And when you get 7 cost, 8,000 power on play, give up to 1 Rested Dawn card to your leader or one of your characters. That's pretty decent, I would say. It's just decent effect. But the second one, activate main, you may rest this character, KO up to 1 of your opponent's characters with 5,000 power or less, which does come in handy. I think like on the turn that you play down Edward Newgate, if you have a power reducer already on the field, you can just rest Edward Newgate and KO something. So yes, there are cards that can't be KO'd by effects, but this isn't for that. Like Edward Newgate deals with like the larger board. You know, you can play stuff like what round table again if you want to, though you can't play on the same turn as you play Edward Newgate. But there are cards like Race Max, there are cards like Gordon that can reduce by 3,000 power and with only 1 cost. If they're already on the field, even great. There are even like leaders, for example, like Marco the Phoenix, which, you know, this kind of plays into that. Marco the Phoenix, this gives a Dawn to Marco the Phoenix leader, and then you can use Marco the Phoenix leader to loot and then give something minus 2,000 power. And then Edward Newgate, if you rest it, KO something. So this is not necessarily meant for something like Whitebeard himself, like the leader, but it's good for like Marco the Phoenix. I think strangely enough, Uta can also play this, but you know it's not filmed, so there's a little bit of hoops to jump through. But it's a removal. Yeah, so I really like this when you get. I really like it in Marco the Phoenix. I do play Marco the Phoenix. Like, I've been playing it online, and I'm really tempted to kind of just jam this in the deck, but I'm very like, it's hard for me to justify buying two of these because I have other decks that I want two of, which I'll talk about later on. But yeah, Edward Newgate is a very good super rare. And now let's move on to King Dew. King Dew is kind of straightforward. 3 cost, 4000 power, counter 1000, has blocker. On your opponent's turn, when this character is KO'd, up to one of your leader gains plus 2k during this turn, which is kind of like a little bit of like a useless kid, 7 cost kid, or like Whitebeard himself, like the 9 cost Whitebeard, giving like your leader 2k power, except that you have to already like block with this, and then also it has to be KO'd by an effect. No, you can't block with it and then it gets 2k, which, you know, it should have that ability, right? I'm just looking at it for the first time and I'm like, this should have been like on KO. Why isn't it like not on KO? I mean, of course, it may be a little bit too strong, but there are the ways to remove this. Now, RP Law already can bottom deck King Dews, so that's fine. But yeah, only by an effect, which is really, really specific. So I don't think this is that good at all now that I read it again. So it's a blocker. That's great. Now, Tetch is really good. 1 cost 2000 power with counter 2000. On play, if your leader type includes Whitebeard Pirates, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 2000 power during this turn, then add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. So yeah, this is a 1 cost that can give minus 2000 power, and it's a 2k, so there is a little bit of versatility there, sort of like an Otama that you can search. This card can also be used with something like Atmos or cards that says you can't add life cards to your hand using your own effects. So that could be a combo that you want to do to prevent the loss of life. But either way, as a utility and as a Whitebeard player, you don't mind this. But the fact that this is searchable and it's a 2k counter means like more likely to kind of include it in your deck. That's why they give you 2, 31 by 2, so you can get a proof playset. See your game, Bandai. So Podast DA's a 5 cost 6000 power with counter 1000. If your leader type includes Whitebeard Pirates, this character gains Rush. Very straightforward, very ace-like, I love it. And once per turn, if this character will be removed from the field by your opponent's effect, you may give this character minus 2000 power during this turn instead. Love it. I love this so much. You know what this card would be good in? Sabo. Like, you can protect it from being KO'd by your opponent's attack, and its innate ability gives you protection from your opponent's effects. Really, really good stuff. Yeah, I of course this would be best in something like Ace himself, Marco the Phoenix, Whitebeard, because it just gives Rush, really, really powerful stuff, and it's hard to remove unless your opponent really attacks into it, reduces power, attacks into it, something like that. And the great thing is it's removed from the field, so any bottom deck effects would not work unless they do it twice or something like that. So yeah, I really like Ace in the current state of the meta game with a lot of RP laws moving around, with a lot of Rob Lucci's running around. This is a really, really great card to be present in the current meta game. This is a good card for red, for sure. And yeah, those are all the new cards. So let's talk about whether or not you should get this deck. As a new player, if you like Whitebeard, this deck is actually great because it gives you like, okay, most of the tools that you need. You got your 2k counters, you got your searchers, you got your Marco the Phoenix blocker. So if you want to upgrade this deck, you just need to get like maybe some rares and super rares, Marco the Phoenix being the 5 cost Marco the Phoenix being one of the rares that you should pick up, 9 cost Whitebeard, a lot of event cards you can essentially just put into this. The problem with that is those event cards come from like OPO2, OPO3 era, though they are relatively cheaper right now in the current landscape of things. I think I'm speaking for both Japanese and English, might be harder to get. So go check with like local game stores, go check with like some players that may have those cards, and then that will be good for you. As a new player, I think this is a decent deck, not my favorite deck to pick up because of kind of like the skill level that you need to play Edward Newgate, because you are losing life every turn. It's not the most straightforward deck in the world. So for this, I would say if you like Whitebeard, go get it. If not, this is a deck you can skip out on. For returning players, if you really like the new cards, you should get this deck. Like, I think that Podcast DAs is the kind of the reason why I would be willing to get two of these, but that is not enough for me to warrant going to pick up two of these. And I really want to play Marco the Phoenix with this at what you get as well. So as a returning player, I would say this is very low on my priority. I don't play Whitebeard, I don't play anything else, and this is shoehorning like this super rare shoehorns itself into a little bit of Marco the Phoenix. It could use it in other raid decks as well. I think it's powerful enough to stand its own, and it's like generic enough to be good in any raid deck, and as well as Ace. But yeah, I think it would be a lower priority for me. All right, next we are talking about Uta. So Uta, if you like Uta for starter deck, you know, this is, I would say, like originally I would say before this deck came out, the old Uta starter deck, I would say that this is actually like the best. Uta was actually the best thing that a new player can buy to learn the game, to learn how to play the game, and to properly like have a deck that's kind of okay enough to kind of rumble around the meta game a little bit. A bit weaker now, but you can definitely stand the tests on its own, and you can kind of, people can be caught off guard with Uta. With this deck, however, it reprints a lot of different cards, so you get actually really cool artwork for the promo cards that were actually originally just promos, and now you have different artworks of just Uta, and the most important one definitely is I believe, I can't really, yeah, it says I'm Invincible, which is 3 cost, main setup to one of your Uta leader as active. This you combine it with like a multiple of these, you can do multiple attacks with Uta, which is really, really good. New Genesis is really good. Backlight is also really, really powerful. And I think here is the kind of breakdown of the list. Let me turn on my camera. And yeah, you actually get a full playset of all of the promo in this like the full art artwork, and they look really great. And I think it's worth picking up if you didn't get access to the promos beforehand like I did. Then I would definitely love to get the access to it now. So yeah, as a new player, I think this deck is very much worth it. You can read the effects for yourself. I'm just going to go through the newer cards. And the new cards, and this is where, like, for a returning player or someone's already playing the game, Uta is not really that great, except for one card only. So this Uta, the new super rare card, Uta, 4 cost, 6000 power, blocker, activate main once per turn. You may trash 1 film type card from your hand, give up to 1 Rested Dawn card to your leader or one of your characters. Not that great. It's just, you gotta give 1 card up to give 1 Rested Dawn. I don't think that it's worth it. I might be wrong, but I really don't think it's worth it. So gonna move on from this. I don't like this card at all. Gordon is also a new one. Has blocker, and on your opponent attack, you may trash any number of music type cards from your hand. Music being like this, like the songs that Uta sings. You can give your leader or one of your characters plus 1000 power during this battle. For every card trash, it acts as a plus 1k counter. Very niche, very shoehorn. You could potentially make it work, but still not as great. We got Katakuri, film Katakuri. 3 cost, 4000 power with counter 1000. If your leader has a film type and you have 6 or more vested cards, this character gains plus 2k power. Could be powerful in a pinch, but like in the current landscape of the metagame, not as effective, not as powerful. So yeah, you get 4 of this, I think, so it's fine. This is the guy I'm talking about. This is the guy that I'm talking about because this card will be so great in something like Bonnie, like Jewelry Bonnie. 9 cost, 11,000 power. First of all, 9 cost means you get 1 Dawn left for Bonnie's ability. On play, KO up to one of your opponent's vested characters. That's it. That's the effect. And this is the Shanks that I really, really like. Too bad you get 2 of it, which is perfect because usually, like these kind of cards, I would just want 2 copies in the deck. Maybe I don't need to spring for like the 3rd or 4th because it's going to gum up the deck a little bit. But this is going to be a great card for green. It's a great top end for green. And I really, really like this card. Yeah, the other card is this Monkey D. Luffy. If you have arrested Uta, this character gains plus 1000 power. It's a counter 2k. It's searchable. You don't need it. There are other 2k counters in film. And so I'll say this. For Uta specifically, if you can get, like for a new player, if you can get what was it? Green Uta's old deck was ST11. If you can get 2 copies of ST11 and you get 1 copy of ST 16, then you are ready to go. You can build a pretty decent, strong meta game Uta deck and just go ham from there. Like really, really great. And then for a returning player, unless you want like different artworks, if you want to kind of pimp out your deck with the new Uta, which great, you can just buy one, because depends on whether you want a playset of like Shanks and Uta super rare. But this card, I think just having 2 copies should be okay, unless I'm proven wrong. Like I don't want y'all to waste your money, so I would just recommend to get one, because these cards are great and you get like really cool artwork of all the songs. Yeah, that's it. So new players, great. Returning players, 1 is enough. Okay, Doflamingo. Now a very cult classic deck. This leader always sees play, so I know a lot of fans are looking to pick up this deck. Don Quixote Doflamingo, the leader, looks great, and yeah, they have a lot of great reprints, but a lot of the core missing pieces are not here, which is to be understandable, because they literally just came out, like start from OPO7. Was it OPO7? Yeah, like Jinbei, SR. Those are the cards that you would want to put in this. The other version of Edward Weevil that lets you draw a card, that's the card that you should be adding in. But for the new cards, some are great, some are not. So like Crocodile, for example, on play, reveal 1 card from the top of your deck. If the card is the 7 Warlords of the Sea type card, draw 2 cards and place 1 card from your hand at the top of your deck. I mean, it's just jumping through too much hoops to draw cards. You could potentially, if you already know the card that's already on top, right? Like for example, you already use something like Perna, or one of the cards that we're going to talk about later on. You can set up your deck so that you already know what's on top, and then of course you're going to attack with Doflamingo. Then you can play that 7 Warlords of the Sea straight up to the battlefield. You can play Crocodile first, reveal it, and then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's a 7 Warlords of the Sea. You draw 2 cards, and then you put the same card at the top, and then you attack with your leader, put it on the field, and then continue. So in that regard, maybe it's just an extra utility to kind of add more to the kind of Shichibukai kind of archetype. And yeah, I do think that Doflamingos would want to try this out. We gotta ask the Doflamingo experts whether like this is viable to their strat, because I don't play Doflamingo. I don't play much. Doflamingo used to, but not now. It's been like what, 9 sets in, and I'm not touching this deck anymore. So, but in my opinion, I think it could use it as a utility piece, but you could do without it. There's like better cards out there. I think like Jinbei and Edward Revel alone are objectively stronger. But yeah, okay, let's talk about the other super rares. Trafalgar Law. On play, you may return 1 of your characters to the owner's hand. If your leader has the 7 Warlords of the Sea type, return up to 1 character with cost of 4 less to the owner's hand. So this is pretty decent. Law just doing law things. You can return something on your opponent's side of the field as long as you return 1 of yours, and this would be good because you can return utility cards, like for example Gecko Moria, that lets you kind of take 7 Warlords of the Sea or Trailer Bug back from the trash to your hand. So you can you can use this, set this on top of your deck, attack with your leader, play it out, and then return something. So yeah, there is more utility I would say for Trafalgar Law, because at the same time, you return something on your opponent's side of the field, slow them down a little bit, return back a blocker. You can even return 2 things on your side of the field if you want to, just so you can reuse them again. So I like Trafalgar Law. I think it's good enough that you could potentially make a case to get a playset of Trafalgar Law. But yeah, this is the card that I really, really like. It's buggy, it's searchable because it's 7 Warlords of the Sea, and it acts like a Perona, not as strong as Perona because it lets you only look at the top 3 cards of a deck, but it's a 2k counter. So immediately this is like one of the best cards to upgrade a Doflamingo deck with. And looking at the list of numbers, yeah, like I said, the stronger cards, they are just going to give you 2. So Law, Boa Hancock, SR, and then of course this Buggy, they're going to only give you 2. Yeah, but this is a really good card for Doflamingo players. So if you really played Doflamingo, okay, we'll get to that later on as a return player. But yeah, this is a card that you should get to upgrade your deck. Then new Boa Hancock, 4 cost, 6,000 power with blocker. On play, look at 3 cards on the top of your deck and place them at the top or bottom in any order. Then give up to 1 Vested Dawn card to one of your leader or characters, which is great because you can use this as sort of like another way that, like another buggy, so to say. Rearrange the top of your deck, give 1 Dawn to your leader, and then you already have another 1 settled. So you just need to put 1 more and then have another 1 ready to attack, and then you can use Doflamingo's ability. So I like Boa Hancock. I think also another card that is a great addition, because if you play Boa out with your leader ability, for example, you can use that extra Dawn to another character, for example, maybe a 4 cost 6k that you can put 1 Dawn and make it a 7k, and you can set up for the next turn. So there's a lot of utility in Boa Hancock, and I really like this card in Doflamingo. But Martially Teach is a very interesting card, and I'm surprised they gave you 4 of this, because I really like this card. 2 cost, 3000 power with counter 1000 with activate main once per turn. You may place 1 card from your hand to the top of your deck, then give up to 2 Arrested Dawn cards to your leader or characters. Is this a win more card? I'm not sure, because imagine you're Doflamingo, you're on your first turn, you got 3 Dawns, you play this down, you put like a Jinbei, an SR Jinbei from Opio, I think it's Opio 7, to the top of your deck. You give 2 Dawns to your leader, you attack with Doflamingo, pay 1 Dawn, you play out the Jinbei for free, and then you can play out something else for free, and if you play out an Edward Weevil, you get to draw a card, so you're essentially, you have 3 characters on the field on the first turn, and your leader is attacking for 7k. Strong card. I want to know whether this is, because I can see at a later part of the game, maybe it's not as powerful, but as a third, but I think it could still be powerful because you're giving 2 Dawns to your leader anyway, and then you can kind of swarm the deck in that way. I like this card. I think it's a great addition. So let's talk about like new player versus returning player for this one. So as a new player, if you like Doflamingo, if Doflamingo is one of your favorite characters, which you know it's a very fan favorite like antagonist, then I would say you should be careful picking this deck up, because there are a lot of pieces that you need to improve this deck. For example, like like I mentioned, there is a plus 2k law from Opio 7. There's a Jinbei from Opio 7. There's if you want to go down the Boa Hancock route, there's a lot of super rares that you need to make this deck even powerful than it is, and also some cards like from EB01, which I believe it's the Edward Weevil that draws you a card. So you have a lot of core pieces that make Doflamingo work, and if you want to make it like super meta competitive, then you need a lot of cards to get there. Otherwise, it's still a playable deck. Don't get me wrong, it's still a playable deck. People can still do really well, relatively well with Doflamingo. It's just that to take it to the next level, there is going to be a significant cost of like entry, I would say, to upgrade this deck. And at a very minimum, at a starting point, you need to get 2 of these, because these 3 cards alone, getting like a playset, is definitely necessary. So that's for my new players. If you want to get this, just be careful a little bit. There is a higher cost to entry because you need to pick up all of the staples. For returning players, you're not going to care what I say. You're already playing Doflamingo. You are going to get 2 of these no matter what, because like the Doflamingo deck improves every set because it's in blue, and you always have pieces that can go into a Doflamingo deck. So you are going to spend money on the pieces anyway, so you are going to spend money on this. So returning players, if you're playing Doflamingo, yeah, you're going to get 2 copies regardless of what I say. So go for it. I think Buggy is really good. I think I would like Martially Teach is really good. I like it. So yeah, go ahead, go crazy. So let's start with Luffy. I mean, for me, I am 100% a Luffy player. I play this Luffy a lot, so I'm definitely gonna be picking this up. But whether or not it's gonna be worth my money to play like some of the new cards. So once again, here are the ratios of all of the cards. We can see that Usohachi and Zorojuro, and of course Luffy, they get 2 copies each, and the rest of them get 4. So yeah, I'm gonna just talk about the new cards. A lot of great reprints. I mean, a lot of I would say leaning towards the Straw Hat ones, but we all know that that's not how this Luffy plays. But they do give 4 copies of Zorojuro, which is very, very great, right? 4 copies. Yes, 4 copies, which is a really good rare to put inside. So kudos for them for that. But now let's talk about all the other stuff. So Usohachi is a 2k counter. That's why they're only giving you 2. 3 costs 3000 power. If you have 8 or more Dawn, on play, if you have 8 or more Dawn, rest one of your opponent's characters with cost of 5 or less. This is a fantastic card in this deck. Not only is it searchable, Straw Hats. Secondly, we need more rest cards in purple, man. I have lost a lot of games for purple just because my opponent had blockers, or I couldn't get through to kind of finish off the game. This is a great card. Don't get me wrong, like this alone will make me want to get 2 copies so I can get a full play set of Usohachi. That's how good this card is. But yeah, let's talk about the rest of them. Onami. Onami is a blocker, 4 cost 2000 power, we counter 1000. Blocker. On play, if you have 8 or more Dawn cards on the field, trash 1 card from your hand and draw 2 cards. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. Draw 2 and trash 1. I mean, we have seen those kind of effects before. It's like almost like a queen technically, except you don't need to Dawn -1 and you need to have 8 or more Dawn. So in the late game, this is really good. In the early game, not so much, but it is a blocker in the late game. But unfortunately, it's like 2000 power, so there's a lot of things that can get rid of it. Like anything in red that KOs by power, and then of course RP Law can just remove this immediately. So that's something you could take into consideration if you're trying to upgrade your purple deck. We got Sun Goro. If you have 8 or more Dawns on your field when attacking, draw 1 card. I like this card a lot. It's a great like 5 cost 6000 slot as well. If you don't want to play something like use the Skate or Queen, and you have played, if you go more harder onto the Straw Hat route, you can play this and then have a utility to draw. As long as you 8 or more Dawn, which with kind of Luffy, you can definitely get there very, very fast. Zorojuro. This is one of the best new cards as well from the purple starter deck. 4 cost 6000 power. On play, look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Reveal up to 1 purple Straw Hat type crew card and then add it to your hand. It's a searcher for purple Straw Hat specifically in a 4 cost 6000 power body. If you are unsure on how purple Luffy works, if you are going first or going second, if you're going first, you just on the second turn, you have 3 Dawns, use Luffy's ability to ramp by 1, and then you just drop Zoro down and you can start searching. I think it's very, very powerful because I like 4 cost slots in Luffy, really, really powerful stuff. And then last is Luffy Taro. Great artwork, by the way. 7 cost, 8000 power. On play, Dawn -1. You can play up to 1 of your purple Straw Hat type character card because of 5 or less from your hand, which you can play Sorojuro, you can play Sun Goro. There's a lot of cards in this slot that you can play. And it's kind of trying to push towards like almost like the film variant of the Straw Hat crew, where like Luffy brings out something else and then that something else can do something. Let's break this down. Okay, for a new player, this I would not recommend picking this up as your first deck. That's my kind of analysis. Unless you really like, I mean, of course, if you're thinking about like, oh, I like Luffy, I want to play him as my first leader. There are better Luffy starter decks out there. Even the ultimate decks have Luffy in them, and like that could be another route for you to go to. But this specifically, it's hard because the deck that it gives you is not the best variant of this deck. So Purple Luffy wants to play a lot of powerful top end cards. You got your 9 cost Kaidos, you got your you got your queen, your 5 cost queen, you got 5 cost Eustace kid, which if you're a new player watching this, it's hard for you to justify. I'll try to put the pictures on screen, and those cards are expensive on its own. Like you need a lot of expensive pieces to actually make this deck like super playable, because once it gets there, it gets really powerful, but it's still not like the best deck in the format. So it's hard for me to justify telling you like, oh, you should pick this up as your first deck, as a starter deck to try out the game. Sure, but it's like something that you can kind of make it to a point where it's super playable. I would recommend against it. So unfortunately, I would say go look for the other decks. And if you want a Luffy leader that I can actually really recommend, I actually would say like if you can have access to ST10, the 3 captains, or even ST08, they are different variants of Luffy. Not as easy to pick up, but you can try it. Actually, for a brand new player, I'll just give you Green Uta. That's like the best one. But don't let me deter you from like picking this deck up. You should try it out if you want to. Just know that there are many ways you can build this Purple Luffy, and some of the more popular ways require a lot of expensive super rares that are harder to get in the game as of now. It will be easier to get later on, but for right now, it's gonna be really hard. For a returning player, hell to the yes, pick up 2 copies of this deck. 2000 counter Uso Hachi, giving you a way to rest something that's 5 or less. Yes, sir, I will definitely pick this up. I'm playing 2. I want this Zorojuro as well. It's really, really great. And I'm interested to build a Straw Hat variant of this using like the 10 cost a secret rare Gifai Luffy, not this one, the one that Dawn -10, and kind of focus on that instead. instead of like leaning towards like Kaido, leaning towards like all of the top end in that regard, like a Douglas Bullet or a 7-cost Eustace. I want to kind of focus more on like the Straw Hat variant, and I think this would be a good starting point for me to do that. But I already have a lot of core pieces in purple, which is why as a returning player or existing player, I'm comfortable enough to pick this 2 of these up, not for a new player. But yeah, there we go. Okay, we're going to talk about Smoker next. So Smoker, you can take a look at the ratios. Other than Tashigi, Hina, and Sengoku, which are 2 copies, the rest you get 4. You know, Smoker on its own, if you are a fan of not Navy in general, but like black kind of strategies where they play with the costs, as a new player, this deck is actually pretty solid. I'm not gonna lie. Like, yes, there are a lot of pieces that you need to make it like really good. Same goes for every other deck. But it does give you quite a lot. You know, it give you the Ice Age, they give you -5 cost, they give you the brand new Searcher, they give you even Kobe, so you can play it a little bit more. Like the old school black, the one that uses the old the Sakazuki starter deck. So we'll get to that as a new player, but let's take a look at the new cards, starting with Smoker. This is like a chat Smoker, 6 cost, 8,000 power. On play, you may trash 1 black navy type card from your hand. Up to 2 of your opponent characters with cost of 4 or less cannot attack until the end of your opponent's next turn. It's fine. I mean, 2 characters, so that's great. I mean, is this an RP law counter or what? So yeah, it's a decent card, but that's just about it. I think it's very specific, very shoehorn into that. Like, you have to specifically cost 4 or less and trash 1 black navy card. There may be cases where this would be good, but I think there are better cards out there that you can replace this with. Sengoku is on play. You may trash 2 black navy cards from your hand. If your leader has a navy type, draw 3 cards. This is interesting, really interesting. It 1 fuels your trash. That's important. 2, it lets you draw 3 cards, but at the cost of 2 cards. And if you're playing Sengoku, you're essentially like swapping out. So yeah, I think this is pretty decent actually. There are black cards out there that require you to fill up your trash and to make it like really good. So you can kind of use this a little bit, but I don't know how that deck would look like. Let's talk about super rares, okay? Like Tashigi, 5 cost, 6,000 power, counter 1,000. Great artwork. Look at that. If your leader is Smoker, give up to 1 of your opponent's characters -4 cost during this turn. This is an on-play ability, which is powerful. Don't get me wrong, -4 is a lot. And then activate main once per turn. If this character was played on this turn, trash up to 1 of your opponent's characters with cost of 0. So it kind of acts like that super rare Kaido a little bit, where it's an on-play, but there's an activate main that is dependent on whether Tashigi is played this turn. This is a great card. -4 is a lot, and then you can use other cost reducers, like even your Smoker's ability to reduce something by -1, and then like you can just KO something that the cost of exactly 0. Combine it with cards like Ice Age. You can combine it with cards like not copy other cards essentially. I don't know. Oh, they don't have El Mapo here. Oh, that's it. Okay, maybe like, you know, Turu to give some -2. Smoker innately gives -1. So there are ways to make Tashigi work, and I know black players will definitely play Tashigi. I think this is a great card. So there you go. There we go. Hina, 4 cost, 6,000 power. We've done 1 opponent's turn. This character gains +4 cost. This is great because there are certain cards out there, like especially in the I believe ST14, like Nico Robin has an ability that has an on play, and when attacking, when you have a cost of 8 or higher on the field. So Hina fulfills that. So that's really good. That's a combo wombo right there. Then activate main once per turn. You may place 1 card from your trash at the bottom of your deck. Then give up to 1 Rested Dawn card to your leader or characters, which I believe it's you can use it to give the Dawn to Smoker to kind of, you know, continue your plays, make it so that you can activate cost efficient that way. I like Hina in the sense that you can give it +4 cost to activate other characters' abilities for only like technically 4 cost and 1 Dawn. So there's a merit to that. Other than that, it's okay. So yeah, this can turn on a lot of effects with the cost. And yeah, artwork, of course, this can turn on other people. So there we go. And then Monkey D. Gup, 3 cost, 4000 power, counter 1000. Blocker, activate main, you may place one card from the trash at the bottom of your deck. Give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost during this turn. This is okay. This is quite decent actually for a blocker with an ability to give -1 at the cost of placing a card from your trash at the bottom of the deck. Yeah, that -1 will come in handy if you don't have like any other cards. Like it's good, you gotta play like Sakazuki, like incrementally reducing costs and then like KOing it or doing something with that cost reduction. So let's talk about, as a new player, yeah, I think this deck does give you enough to make it playable, but similar to like Purple Luffy, similar with all the other cards, it's hard to kind of justify, but because like black plays SR Gecko Moria, which is a really powerful card, and like some black has some utility. But if you're a new player starting out, I think this is actually really decent deck. And even better if you can pick up this black smoker ST19, and also something that comes out like really like this ST06 Navy featuring Sakazuki as the leader, which is very expensive, by the way. For, I believe like the English side is going to be really expensive because it's an older starter deck. But if you can get that, oh man, if you can get 2 copies of that, 2 copies of this, you can actually make a decent Navy card because of the super rare smoker. Let's just take a look at it to show you all. Well, I haven't seen these cards in a while, but this smoker, specifically this super rare smoker right here, it's gonna load. Yeah, it's really powerful. Like, I haven't seen this played in a while, but you know, this can bring it back. And there are some banned cards, like this is banned technically, so you can't really play it. But the super rares here, Monkey D. Gup, you can have utility with whatever is in the new starter deck. We have Helmeppo that can reduce cost. We have Tashigi that can reduce cost as well. Also the old Hina. So if you can, or if you if you can, that will be a great thing to kind of pick up Smoker and the Sakazuki starter decks, and you can make a pretty decent navy black deck. So you can potentially pick this up. I think that's perfectly fine. Over something like a Purple Luffy, over something like a Doflamingo. If you like the strategy and playstyle, go for it. I think I can safely recommend. I think Uta will still be number 1. Maybe this could be a number. No, I'll think like I'll have to look at category first before I make that list. But yeah, I think this is pretty decent. For a returning player, if you're a black player, you definitely will pick up, I think, 2 copies of this deck just to get the full playset of Tashigi. I think this is a great utility card for that. I think that alone. I don't know if you're gonna use it for Hina unless you are playing that Jack slash Nico Robin kind of combo to reduce costs, and then like Hina gets +4 cost for 1 Dawn. So that's another way to kind of play it. But I think the linchpin of this deck is new smoker artwork and Tashigi. Yeah, if you are playing black and you need these cards, yeah, get 2. If not, you can skip this deck. I think that's perfectly fine. Alright, last but not least, it's my boy Katakuri. I would say Katakuri is one of the best friendly new player decks for new player, or leaders for new players for that matter, because it's a very decent straightforward leader. Put a Dawn, you can look at your opponent's top of opponent life or your own life, and then place it at top bottom, and then it gains 1000 power. That means you're swinging for 7k. I love me some Katakuri, man. It's been a while since I played Katakuri, but looking at the card list, let's take a look. So yeah, you'll get a pretty decent amount except for the super rare Katakuri, super rare Big Mom, and the Pudding. The rest of them, you get a full playset. So let's take a look at the new cards first before we kind of make a decision. Starting with Charlotte Katakuri, 5 cost 6000 power, counter 1000, has blocker, and activate main once per turn. You may turn 1 card from the top of your life cards face up, give up to 1 Rested Dawn to your leader or your characters. I like this. I really like this in a sense that it's good with Katakuri because you can just you can play this on your 3rd turn if you're going first, and then because usually you need to attach Dawns to Katakuri to have that effect, like being procced, right? And it's very annoying to play like cards on a odd number, because then you don't have extra Dawn to put to your leader. But this way you can play this on your 5 Dawn turn, and then you put a Dawn onto your Katakuri, and then you turn a life face up. If it's something that you like, you can keep it there. If not, you can swing with Katakuri, and then you can just move it to the bottom or something like that. yeah, I like this. I'm actually really excited to try this out for sure. Alright, next up we got Charlotte the Cracker. 4 cost, 5000 power, counter 1000. Once per turn, if this character will be KO'd by an effect, you may trash 1 card from the top of your life cards instead. So kind of like Annual a little bit, but it's KO'd by effect, not by like by attack, which is still really, really good. Trigger, you may trash 1 card from hand, play this card. It's been a while since we saw that kind of trigger phrase, but yeah, it's yellow. Yeah, I'm okay with this cracker. I think I still prefer the other Charlotte cracker, the one that can potentially give double attack. This one is just okay. So I think they're giving you a playset, so it's fine. It's fine. Nothing much to say about it, but this Charlotte Brulee is really good. 3 cost, 3000 power with counter 2000. Trigger, look at the top 1 card from your or your opponent's life cards and then place it at the top or bottom of the life cards, then add this to your hand. The thing is, it's a free trigger, essentially. It just gives your opponent information that you have a 2k counter in hand, but at the same time you get information on the life cards in your life, also on your opponent's life. I like this. This would be like a kind of straight upgrade to some of the 2k counters that category already plays. So I will be getting 2 copies just so I can get this. Actually, no, I'm not getting 2 copies because of Brulee, because Brulee has a full playset. It's for another card, but let's talk about it later on. Charlotte Pudding is a 3 cost, 2000 power, counter 1000. On play, you may add the top card of your life cards to your hand and then set up one of your Big Mom Pirates type characters with a cost of 3 or less as active. So I guess you can potentially have multiple attacks with Pecoms or like even like Perispero. I don't see like really why this is good and why they're only giving you 2 copies of this. Shouldn't this be the 2 copies one? I don't know. Am I not seeing something here? Am I not seeing like the potential of this? 3 costs or less, right? Not more. If it's more, this is really powerful. But less is like, it's okay. And then yeah, trigger rest up to one of your opponents with characters with a cost of 3 or less. That's fine. Yeah, that's okay. But the true meat and potatoes is none other than another Big Mom, Charlotte Lin Lin, 6 cost, 7000 power. This is the card. This is the card that is worth getting 2 copies of this deck for. So on play, you may trash 1 card from your hand. Your opponent chooses 1. Your opponent trashes 2 cards from your hand. Okay. And then trash 1 card from the top of your opponent life cards. Okay. Dude, I love this card so much. It's so good. This is like, I want to play like mono Big Moms, man. And the thing is, I was like, if you play like black yellow Big Mom and then you have this Big Mom and you have like the discard cards event in black, and you can kind of do like a hand destruction kind of thing. Would that be is that a deck? Let me know. I need to find out. But yeah, I love this Charlotte Lin Lin and I think it's really, really powerful. It's gonna be one of those annoying cards in the battle game. And Big Mom, as you'll know, super annoying. That's why I love her so much. And that is the reason why I would love to play this deck. Alright, new player wise, this is a great deck to kind of get started. Yes, to kind of improve this deck to the max, you do need a lot of expensive cards that are not as easy to get. But not a lot of people like playing yellow. And you can high roll your way to victory with all of the cards with triggers. Make sure you do remember them, by the way. And yeah, I would suggest so yeah, Uta will be my number 1, Katakuri will be my second. I think it will go Smoker, Doflamingo, Whitebeard, Luffy, something like that, or like Luffy and then Whitebeard. But yeah, as a new player, I can definitely recommend you to pick up this deck. Kalakato is really, really fun, easy to get into, easy to play, not that straightforward. The starter deck gives you enough to kind of make it work. And then if you can get 2 copies, then you can use it to upgrade to get 2 copies of Charlotte Lin Lin or 2 copies of Charlotte Katakuri. If you want to upgrade this deck even further, yeah, you would have to kind of improve, add in more cards like the 10 cost Big Mom, like the 7 cost Big Mom from like the OG starter deck. So yeah, there is a merit to this, by the way. I think for new players, it's okay. For returning players, if you're a filthy Katakuri player just like me, if you want to slam down this 6 cost Lin Lin, get 2 copies of this deck right effing now, because this is the card to go. Let's go. And for the I'm gonna pick this up because Katakuri's artwork is really, really nice, and I kind of want to try this, using this for time being instead of the alternate art. But yeah, the only reason why I would get this is because I want a playset of this. I want a playset of this, and I will try it out this Katakuri and just make like a Big Mom focused yellow instead of like a high roll yellow. But yeah, that's it. That's my kind of analysis breakdown of all the starter decks. I hope that you found this useful. And yeah, I think it's a great initiative to kind of reprint like a lot of starter decks at once, so new players can just come in and get like the decks that they want. Great for kids, I would say. Like if you want to teach kids how to play the game, this will be a great and inexpensive starting point for you to just give to them to kind of learn the game. For returning players, they're not that expensive, but it is a cost sunk if you're playing like, if you need like a lot of pieces, like you need like 2 copies of each starter deck, so you gotta pick and choose. Unless you got the money, then go for it. If you're like me, kind of like want to be a little bit more budget conscious, I'll be honest, the only 2 decks that I want to get was actually Luffy and Katakuri, but I'm looking at the Whitebeard one just so I can play Ace. Essentially, that's it. But yeah, let me know what you think. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know these 2 videos are kind of long, but hopefully the breakdown is useful for you all. We'll have the opening of the starter decks. I'm going to put them all in one video just so I can show you some of the cards and enjoy them together, probably about next week. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys at the next one. Peace.